Hello, Joel. How are you?
Good, Valentina. How are you?
I'm doing great. Welcome back to She. In our last episode, we explored the wounded feminine, how our past experiences shape the way we love, the way we connect, and show up in relationships through the lens of the nervous system. Today, we're turning our attention to the other side of the dynamic, which we touched briefly last time, the wounded masculine. And before we begin, we want to be clear about something. This episode is not about blaming men, of course. Just like the wounded feminine isn't a flaw in women, the wounded masculine is not a flaw in men. So it's what happens when a boy grows up believing he has to suppress his emotions, earn love through performance, stay in control, or carry everything alone in order to be accepted, in order to be loved. And so those wounds don't disappear with age. They show up in relationships. They influence communication, intimacy, vulnerability, commitment, and emotional availability. So today we're exploring what the wounded masculine looks like, how it impacts both men and of course the relationships as a consequence the women, and what it means to move toward the healthy embodied masculine, because that's the goal, the embodied feminine and the embodied masculine, because healing is not about choosing sides, so it's about really understanding ourselves and each other more deeply. So let's dive in.
Let's go. So as we were talking about it too, and it's a lot of what we both teach nervous system, but also for me in the relationship piece with the wounded masculine and the wounded masculine, just like the wounded feminine, we have energies. In feminine, we carry wounded masculine, and
Yeah.
in masculine, we carry wounded masculine. And they can come both from mother, father wounds, and they present differently. They also present the same differently in relationships, whether you're avoidant or you're anxious. And that's why all these episodes tie together. But if you're in your wounded masculine, you're going to have a really hard time holding space for a woman. You're going to have a really hard time holding space for your own emotions. So a lot of characteristics of the way that this is going to present, and I made some notes, is you're going to be more controlling instead of embodied. You're going to definitely show emotionally unavailable. And that's that wounded masculine that in the feminine as well that attracts that emotionally unavailable partner. Definitely you're avoiding vulnerability because then you have to actually sit with yourself and sit with those emotions. And if you're in that wounded feeling, um, you just can't hold space for that. Anger, impatience, aggression, difficulty communicating. Sometimes a lot of high achieving professionals, and this is who I target a lot with my coaching, is as you do too with the nervous system reset, because a lot of the people that are very, very successful, in workaholics are carrying that trauma, carrying that wounded masculine because you're trying to achieve not just for success, but also subconsciously proving to prove, right? Um, Fear of failure, rejection, using power to, rather than empowering. So, where that could come across is could be demeaning to your spouse, a partner, even to yourself, instead of being embodied in that. So, a lot of these things can come out, and they do come out in relationships. And subconsciously, so many men and women, I don't want to just put it on men, are going through relationship after relationship, um, possibly a couple marriages. This could even affect your professional work life as well, in this wounded energy. So until you start to become not just self-aware, because self-aware is, that's knowledge, but it's
Yeah.
not changing, right? It's not
It's
changing how
information.
It's information, it's knowledge, it's not changing your patterns, it's not resetting your nervous system. And even when you understand these things and you do nervous system resets, which we spend a lot of time. I seen you this morning doing the cold plunge,
Yes,
right?
yeah, it was amazing.
That's amazing,
Yeah,
right? All the things that we do to regulate that nervous system um, doesn't mean that when a situation comes up, you're still not going to feel it or get triggered. It's the way you're going to recover and react to it.
absolutely.
Right? Would you
Yes,
agree?
absolutely. That's the thing that we want to reiterate. It's not that you're calm all the time, but when you're regulated, you get triggered, you observe, and like it's the recovery time is much faster. And that's the thing. It's not all perfect and all positive. It's impossible. It cannot be. But that's how you understand if your nervous system is regulated or not. And on this note, talking about
Correct.
nervous system regulation, but also like because you briefly said this is who I coach and we coach. We always talk about high achieving, high functioning men and women, but the thing is that it's really like the person who is successful and actually used to handle everything by herself or himself. But during the process of achieving the goal, the success, the life that they want, they abandon themselves. So now when they look outside and they see their lives that should be perfect and amazing and incredible, they're like, okay, I should be grateful, but why am I feeling this gap? Why am I feeling disconnected? So,
Right.
and
I've had
definitely
pre
self-abandonment is huge in people. And then, of course, you have it in yourself and you bring it into the relationship.
and self-abandonment too. And I just found this too, because okay, we are coaches. I have a coach, right?
Oh, me
I'm
too.
constantly doing
Yes,
work, right? You
constantly,
have to. I
constantly.
am constantly doing work on myself. What I have realized, and this is how it's going to present differently, okay? The heal part. A woman who maybe was raised by a wounded father, you're not even gonna your wounded masculine as a woman is going to be, which turns into what? What's that? It's really turns out to be you're in your masculine
Yes, and so
instead of
pushing
your
towards
feminine.
performing all the time, like in go,
Right.
go, go mode, hustling all the time. Yeah.
And the male who, you know, when we say high achieving, it's not even the fact that other people, everyone needs this, but I find that people who are high achieving in their success, they are doing the gym, they're doing the biohacking, they're doing the diet. They're more apt to eventually do the inner work than people who are not doing any of that.
Yeah.
People who are not doing any of the work on themselves haven't evolved to that level yet. So
Yeah.
those people, I don't find myself reaching out to coach because they're not at that point yet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the people that are doing the work and want to succeed in all areas, they're the people that seem to want to dive deeper, or they've reached the level of success and they're like, still, like you said, there's still something missing. Well, that's when, you're the mirror's coming out. Yes, what's missing is within you.
Definitely.
Um,
That's where the awareness comes from. And we said that's just information. What are you going to do with this information? Because most of the people, they're not even aware of the problem. Some they are,
and
but
I'm going to
they're
give
not
you
aware of the
right, right.
solution. So, yeah.
No, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you a scenario too. But first, I'm going to go over. So say you get and you do the work and you start to become more embodied about it. This is how it's going to look, right? Whether you're feminine or masculine, and you're carrying that energy. Um, you might be you're emotionally present. Okay. You keep your word to yourself first. You're not self abandoning.
Yeah.
You create safety and stability. So when things come in your life and you're like, this isn't feeling stable or safe to me, you're going to make a decision not to stay there.
Yeah.
You're going to lead with integrity. You know, you're going to set healthy boundaries.
Boundaries, saying
Take res-
no. Yeah.
boundaries. Support growth in yourself and others, and you balance your action with wisdom. And I'm going to tell you a little story of kind of how this would look. So, say you get into the dating, now you're dating. You're a high achieving person, you've done work on yourself, you pretty much embodied it. But at the same time, you find yourself getting triggered by a situation. Now, you are a very smart person. You know what it is, you know how it presents, you've worked on the mother father wounds, you worked on your own feminine and masculine energy balance. You've worked on that, but then something comes across you that starts to trigger that. In this situation, if you were not um, embodying
Got
some
it.
of the healed energies, how would you react differently? Maybe not say that thing, maybe keep entertaining it. But when you're healed, you might say, I'm going to speak my truth. I'm going to state what my boundary is. I'm going to hold space for this. I'm going to be authentic and honest about what I need, how I feel. If something feels unsafe to me, if I don't feel like I'm aligned, that's where the difference is going to come in. Does it mean that we're always going to meet the most aligned people for us through this? That when we do the work, we're going to meet the ultimate match? No, because we're still going to have soul checks to see, well, how much did you do the work?
Yeah.
Are you really honoring your boundaries? Or are you ready? You say you are, but when it comes to action, are you shrinking?
Yeah.
Or are you saying, I'm going to speak my truth, and someone's either going to go silent and avoidant if they're in that wounded, or they're going to meet you where you're at,
Guys, yeah, exactly.
and they're going to raise to you.
Yeah.
So because that's what's going to happen in any relationship, whether it be family, friends, or romantic. Somebody's coming up or somebody's going down,
Yeah.
right?
And I
I
would
mean, someone's going
introduce
to rise.
I would introduce another stage because when you find yourself embodying the old identity, so getting triggered and behaving like you used to, but you catch yourself, that's also
Yes.
right. It's not okay. I'm not responding, I'm not reacting, I'm embodying the new embodied, healed, the divine feminine masculine energy. That's perfect, but I'm in the process of reaching that state. You're like, okay, actually I'm observing, because that's the observer effect. Like when you analyze everything from outside and you see yourself, it's a different perspective, the game changes completely. So it's all a matter of point of view. I mean, like, this is life is all relative. So
Yeah,
let's say, okay,
absolutely.
I'm catching myself. That's work. That's the work. And you should be proud of yourself. Because again, it's not like, oh, I'm not getting triggered at all. I'm not getting triggered anymore. I
Oh,
am,
that's
but how
never
am
going to
I
happen.
reacting? Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
going to always get triggered. We're going to get triggered, but we're going to say, okay, how did I react? That's when you're going to see the thing. How did I behave in this situation
Yeah.
versus where I would before? Well, maybe before because I was still very much in that wounded energy or still very much not understanding what I needed. And I say the biggest thing is that self abandonment, because if you continue on that path, oh, I'm going to not say anything because maybe it's too soon, or I'm not going to really speak my truth, then you are right from the beginning self abandoning yourself. There's going to be, and you're going to have to deal with, you're going to have to understand and be okay with rejection. And it's not, when people stop taking things personal and realize that it's not necessarily anyone rejecting you, they are just meeting you to the level of emotional stability and awareness that they've done the work on,
Yes, it's
right?
their level. It's their level. It's not you.
It's
It's
their
not your
level.
worth. Your worth doesn't depend on someone else, because otherwise you give your power away. And when you start collecting all those small wins, like, oh, how did I react? How did I do? How did I? Those are references, and those references help to shift the belief, because at the end of the day, deep inside, there's an identity that we need to shift to change. So those references help you to shift the belief that you have from a disempowering to an empowering one. So it's, you see, it's all connected and related.
And this is why it's so imperative. And this is why, I mean, I am so really, really have a firm boundary about, like, say this, for instance. There's my heart and soul is to really truly help people to find that inner mirror for themselves, because that was my biggest thing. That was my biggest wound. That was my biggest lessons of these relationships. And that's why I believe, like, I'm in this, my wounds now have turned to wisdom to help people, because everything that I do, everything is always about, listen, this is still all comes down to the truth about who you are, whether it's relationships, whether it's your wounds, whether it's the masks you wear, because I sit there and I watch people so badly want to be seen. This is what we were talking about before we started. Wanting to be seen, but seen as I'm a socialite, seen as I was here, seen as I'm there, seen I'm seen everywhere. At the same time, you're not seen at all. You're actually underneath so much um non-visibility of truly who you are, because you're not coming forth with truly
Authentic. Yeah.
to authentic of who you want to be seen. And the thing is my biggest thing is, it's great to be at and be seen in that essence of that, and that's social and community and amazing. At the same time, though, do you see yourself? Do you see yourself? Do you actually see yourself, your authentic, true self, that you're, or are you really self-sabotaging and self-sacrificing every time you hide another piece of your truth?
Yeah. And you
To me,
ask, yeah, go ahead.
to me, being seen is being seen authentically, raw, truth, honest. Um, However it is at that moment, I'm coming forth and really being your inner mirror and true with yourself, because I find such beauty and power in that. Because then when you walk in one of those places to be seen, you're magnetic.
Of course,
You walk
the
in
energy speaks
like you walk
louder.
in
Yeah.
with such an embodied, confident feeling that's really radiant and beautiful. And that way, there is no hiding. This is who I am. You're either going to be said you're something else, or you're too much, or but you're not. Who are you too much for? You're not too much for you. And truly, when you can get to that point of understanding um, that this is who I am. I'm happy and content and working on myself. Are we ever going to be perfect? No. Are we going to always get triggered? Sure. Are we going to still always work through wounds? Yes, because you might get a new wound with a new relationship. But if you come forth, and the hardest thing to come forth and be authentic with, hey, I might lean towards this and I feel this way, and you're more able to say it. If a person can't hold space for you, then why are you going to waste 2 years, 10 years, 3 months? Because that's not going to be the right people for you.
No.
And I truly believe when you keep doing this work on yourself, and it is a journey, it's between you and you. This is the biggest thing, is knowing that when you're happy with your reflection, that's all that's going to matter.
Yeah, that's
Then
totally.
you start embodying that. And I think for men, I want to say to men, um, we need men. We need embodied men. We need to feel safe with men. We need men to come forth and be emotional and to be authentic about your wounds and your needs. And yes, men love to provide and protect, but can they even do that if they're not? They don't even hold emotional space for themselves, how can they? How can they? They can't. And that's why we have so many men that are in their wounded masculine.
Yeah. Um, Let me see, because I want to touch a few points. Let me see if I remember them all. First of all, talking about being seen with masks on, because are you actually being authentic, or are you acting based on how you think people should see you and people want you to be seen? Because that's not your version, it's their version. And then when
Right.
we say that, it's the journey, but like being in your authentic self means that yes, you're healing, but you're also and especially living, because otherwise we go into the rabbit hole of healing, and we're stuck in this loop. That's the beauty in
Yeah, you got to
perfect
live.
authenticity, and we live. That's the miracle of living. And then third, talking about men, like, because when a man is in his wounded masculine, he will never attract a woman who's embodying her divine feminine and masculine, both, like it's a balance. It's impossible, because
Right.
in the embodied feminine you can definitely feel safe enough to soften, to pause, to receive. That's the feminine.
Correct.
But then when you're in your wounded masculine, so you're not able to do what your nervous system and your actual identity, like you should support and provide and like hold space for her, they cannot meet it. They can't, because
No,
it's a
and you know what?
different frequencies, different
Right.
dimension,
And
different.
even if it does come where somebody enters that life, that part of you, sometimes it's to check yourself to say, what is it that, all right, where am I now?
Mhm.
If this situation does come into my life, what is this trying to teach me? Is this showing me how much I've grown? Is this showing me where I might still have a little bit of holes that I need to still work on? Or question, are you going to self sabotage because that guy is attractive or are you going to say, you know what? No, because that is the old identity calling me. And I truly believe we still get checked. We still get
All the
checked.
time, because that's too familiar. Oh, I mean,
Hmm.
I'm 42, and my identity, like my old identity, she's at least 40 years old. So, like, yeah, maybe a little bit less, but, and of course, she's calling me all the time, constantly, because, the past is the known, is the familiar. So you want to go back to that identity. And in between, it's like an energetic like vacuum. It's so weird to be in these two, between those two identities. And here's when matters the most, because like if you have faith and you trust,
Yeah.
like eventually like your body catches up, because that's what it is. Like you all the possibilities and versions of you, infinite, they exist in the quantum field. If you connect with that reality, with that possibility, it collapses into the reality. That's how you attract it and manifest. And so that's how you really pull it. You don't have to go anywhere, you attract it.
And I found too, it's just like those things on Instagram where you got the two people, the two identical
Oh
people, but
yeah,
they're in different
see,
places.
going
I had to
now
do
it's
that.
very popular, yeah.
Yeah, I had to do that myself. Like say to myself, "Are you crazy? Are you crazy? Like you don't do that anymore. This is not who you are anymore. No, that might have been somebody else. That might have been 3 years ago. That's not you today. Do you tolerate that? Is that your boundary? It's almost like your new identity and your old identity have to check it
Yeah,
themselves.
yeah.
But to keep it with two, as far as keeping it in the masculine, I really feel like men are extremely emotional. I do. I believe it. I believe men are extremely emotional. They just are scared of rejection. I really believe that. I think a lot of men are so petrified of rejection, more so than women, I think sometimes. And maybe because of, you know, growing up, you have to be a man, you can't have emotions. But for me, if a man could be able to be in that masculine and lead me, to me that'd be the most attractive thing. And to be able to be emotional and speak speak from a soul level, speak from an embodied, emotional, mature intellect, to me is way more attractive
Yeah,
than a physical
yeah,
appearance.
totally. And yet
Now, I'm not
vulnerable.
saying that I
Yeah,
don't think physical appearance is important. It is, but that's not what it, that's not really that's not the important thing. It's really
yeah,
being emotionally mature.
totally.
So that's what I got to say on that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's the perfect ending for today's episode. Next week, we don't know what we're going to talk about. We'll figure it out because we have so many
It'll be a
topics, guys, to
surprise.
share that we need to really like brainstorm and understand where we want to go first.
We do. We
Yeah,
do. We
totally.
do.
But
We do.
so this episode will go live on Friday, June. Where are we? I don't remember anymore.
Friday. What's Friday? Oh, it's June 26th.
June 26th.
Episode
There
will
we
go
go.
live
Yeah,
June
episode
26th.
A will go live June 26th. And so, yeah, thank you so much for Joel. As always, it's been a pleasure. And I'll talk to you next week.
I will see you next week.
Bye.